At the end of this class today, you're going to have what it takes to grow your own food. Hey guys, my name is Sonny Remlinger. I am a landscape and garden designer based in Los Angeles, California, and I'm here with the Desire Company. Gardening is for absolutely everyone. Everybody that wants to grow their own food should be able to do it. You're just gonna need your plants, your potting soil, your container. You're gonna need fertilizer, bypass pruners, a little bit of weed blocker, and a watering can. For this particular selection of plants today, I've already researched that all of these can coexist together peacefully. So the main thing to remember is that research is very, very crucial when you're doing this type of DIY container planting. In this case today, we're doing heirloom tomato, we're doing habanero pepper, we're doing butter lettuce, we're doing onions, and we're also doing parsley. So in this case, all of these will work together great, but it's really, really important to know what your particular climate is going to yield. This particular garden itself, we can do basically a full sun kind of garden for this particular planter. And so make sure that when you're putting together groupings of different plants, make sure that they all have the same or very similar sunlight needs and watering needs as well. You're gonna wanna find a thick weed blocker material. We want the water to drain out, but we don't necessarily want all of the mud and all of the soil to erode out of the container itself through the drainage hole. In this particular case, we're going to use just an organic weed blocker, sort of doubled over. We're going to cut it to fit. We're going to just place it into the container itself and fit it to form. So today what we have here is an heirloom tomato. This is the San Marzano. It's the tallest one that we have, so that's where we're gonna start today. We're going to sort of make this a little bit our center point. What you wanna do is you wanna kind of start back a little bit toward the wall, since we're going to be filling up this entire area. So what you do when you wanna kind of unpot it, usually these coming from the store, they usually are not totally root bound or anything, but just give the root ball a little bit of massage inside of the container itself. Now what you're gonna wanna do then is you're gonna wanna stabilize the base of this with two hands. Pull it out very gently. We're gonna go right in, but we're gonna kinda dig out the base just a little bit. Height-wise, we wanna definitely be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches below the top of the container. I like to go about 1.5 inches to make sure there's plenty of room to water. So that'll be first things first. And for right now, it'll just kind of be held in place. Just keep it in place with your hand for now, but kind of make sure that you've got it where you want it. Then we're gonna take the soil a little bit and pack it around the base of this. So we're gonna be taking soil from other spots inside of the container itself to kind of make sure that that's more stabilized here. So the next thing we'll do, and we're going by height again, for this one, we've got a chili pepper. This is habanero, Caribbean. So we're going to take this one out. This is our second tallest one. We're going to go on the opposite side of this. So this will be straight across from our tomato plant. So same thing goes here. It's a very healthy root system, healthy root ball. Again, with the height, we're going to want to dig out the underneath area here to try to level it out a little bit. And then again, manipulate the soil a little bit until you kind of get it packed around the root base. Try to get some stability in there if you can. The plants themselves, they really thrive the more stable the environment is. We've got good soil, we've got good specimens, so all we have to do is make sure they've got room to grow. So that's with the height basically the same there between the pepper and the tomato plant. So then in this one today, we are also going to be adding some onions. So at this point, now that we have stuff that's a little bit shorter, we're gonna have to move it around that. Get some extra soil in there, because now that we're seeing the soil level go down a little bit in some of these areas, we need to compensate. So even it out on both sides. We're gonna just do, for today, we're gonna just do a couple of these onions. So with the 6-packs from the nurseries, you're gonna wanna kind of squeeze the bottom of this until you've got it really just about out. And pull it out gently. The best thing to do is always be very, very careful with your root systems. These root balls are very delicate. So once you get it in the spot that you want it, make sure that the root ball is stable. And then make sure the height is evened out as well. If you can, try to get them so that they're not touching the other foliage of the other plants too much. So right now we're going to kind of sort of cheat these a little bit to the side. We want to try to make sure that we're not just running these plants into each other. Plants tend to get very, very competitive in their root systems. And so we don't want the foliage touching. That's sometimes a big no-no for plants, especially when we're talking about stronger root systems versus weaker root systems. So we're gonna add a little bit more potting soil now. Add this because the soil level continues to recede a little bit. And that's gonna happen as you do this process. You're going to keep finding that the soil itself is going to kind of continue to sift down toward the bottom of the container. So you're gonna have little gaps and little air pockets here and there that you're gonna work out as you go. And that's going to fill the soil level to continue to make it more stabilized. So for this, we're going to switch around. I'm gonna fill this side next. Today we are going to add this lettuce, which I've already pre-grown. So it originally came in a container from the store, but I got it a little bit bigger for today. So same thing goes here, match up the soil levels for everything. Make sure that everything is even height-wise. That's gonna help later when we start watering and we start keeping this thing hydrated day to day. You're gonna want this thing to essentially all be the same height level. So we're gonna need to add more soil inside of here, and then we're just going to add probably 1 or 2 more things today. Again, we're keeping the aesthetic in mind of this thing. We don't just want it to grow food really well, but we do also want it to look good. We're a little bit tight for space, so we're just gonna do 1 additional parsley today, and we're gonna do it right behind the onions. So again, kind of shift the soil level a little bit, dig this thing in. This is a little bit of a deeper root ball. So yeah, get that all together there. And what we're gonna do for kind of a final thing with this, I'm gonna push down all of our weed blocker and all of the areas here to kind of hide it. And then we're gonna add more soil to everything. As you're going, you're gonna wanna just sort of pack in this soil. You're gonna wanna make it kind of evened out everywhere all the way through. We're going to add now our EB Stone tomato and vegetable food. For this particular size, you're gonna want about a handful of that here. So you're going to wanna just basically eyeball it and then sprinkle it in, just like you're seasoning something in the kitchen. Kind of work this whole thing in with your hands. This is a slow release organic fertilizer, so it's going to boost all the levels that we need. And on top of that, it's going to work over the course of 6 to 8 weeks continuously. Do 1 more container of soil here. If we can, I like to mine the root systems here. Be very, very gentle with everything when you're doing this. If it takes a little bit extra time, then it's probably gonna be worth it. So in this particular case, I'm gonna even everything out. And then as a last step here, we're gonna do a gentle watering. Now, it's very important when you're watering just to go very, very slow and try to just go on top of the root systems themselves. A lot of times when stuff is newly planted, it's a little bit still unstable, it's a little bit shaky. Plants go through a lot when they're transplanted or when they're planted at all. So you have to be very, very careful of basically how you're disrupting them. And in this case, we want to keep it so that basically the water is just going onto the root systems. We're not trying to hit them from above. We're trying to just get it onto the soil bed itself. So once that water is in, 1 quick little pack. sure all that weed blocker is hidden if you can. So it'll make it a lot more aesthetically pleasing later if you're not seeing that weed blocker all the time. So sort of sift the soil around. And then we've got our fully designed, fully functional herb and vegetable garden. That's everything involved from start to finish, from picking out your plants to finally putting the last bit of fertilizer and watering it in. In no time, you'll be able to grow your own food and you're gonna be able to enjoy this. And you know what they say, what's better than growing the food you eat is eating the food that you grow. Thank you guys. Are you looking for more product advice and wisdom from me?
Or me?
Or me?
Hit that subscribe button or head over to thedesirecompany.com for more classes, how-tos, and reviews.